wouldn't trust the science after reading something like this? Harvard scientists caught taking bribes to publish false research about causes of heart attacks. The newly released documents reveal that the sugar industry bribed high-profile and influential scientists from Harvard University, paying them to publish fake news about the primary causes of heart attacks. Yeah. And by the way, this is not related to the jab, surprisingly. This is apparently, maybe they found some link between eating too much sugar and heart attacks. So the industry just paid to have the problem go away. Unless you look at sugar as just slang for something. So the Harvard scientists claim false claims, significant infamous public health strategies regarding nutrition for decades, and the results are still being experienced today. Oh, is that why the food pyramid is so different now than what I was taught as a kid? The news was disclosed in a recent special report in JAMA International Medicine and has shocked the research community. If the so-called experts are taking bribes and lying about the causes of heart attacks, what else might they be lying about? But they're the experts, guys. You need to trust the science, guys. They would never do something like that. It's for your own good, guys. Trust the science. This is the real problem. This is what they're really scared about. In the 1960s, there's no obligation to disclose conflicts of interest, enabling the sugar industry executives to collaborate extensively with researchers in revising and refining their paper until it met their desired standards. Now, this is how laws are written, by the way. The lobbyist that owns the politician effectively writes the laws as they see fit. So if the sugar industry was funding the research, well, they're calling the shots, aren't they? I thought they need to acknowledge their own involvement. So I thought I'd seen everything, but this one floored me, said Marion Nestle of New York University, who wrote an editorial on the new findings. It was so blatant and the bribe was so big. Funding research is ethical. Nestle said bribing research to produce the evidence you want is not. It's very hard to find the line between the two because oftentimes, even if the person funding the research doesn't tell you the results they want, if you could figure it out. You know what they want, and you also know if you don't give them what they want, you won't get any further funding. So it's not technically a bribe, it's just heavily implied. So the fake research was published in Literature Review in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1967. It's been going on that long, man. Even back then, this whole industry was corrupt. Even back then, you couldn't trust the science. It claimed that fat and cholesterol were the main dietary factors contributing to heart disease, while disregarding evidence from the 50s that linked sugar to heart disease as well. According to the latest report, the review in NEJM was funded by Sugar Research Foundation, which is now known as the Sugar Association. SRF's involvement in the study was not disclosed until 1984. And even then, it still took like 40 fucking years to get to the bottom of this. Dr. Mark Hegstead, nutrition professor at Harvard and co-directed the SRF's initial research project on heart disease from 1965 to 66. In the new report, Laura A. Schmidt from the University of California, San Francisco, along with her colleagues, discovered correspondence that revealed how Dr. Hegstead was commissioned by the SRF to arrive at a predetermined conclusion. Almost how you guys do it nowadays with climate change, huh? It's funny that you can't even see yourselves doing the same shit. Archives from the University of Illinois and the Harvard Medical Library demonstrate the foundation established the objective for the literature review, provided funding, and reviewed drafts of the manuscript. In 1962, the American Medical Association Nutrition Report indicated that low-fat, high-sugar diets might actually contribute to the development of cholesterol. According to a new report, 2 years later, John Hickson, the vice president of SRF, proposed a major program to counter the negative perceptions of sugar. Let's just make it high fructose corn syrup instead, and then now it's not sugar anymore. Increasingly, epidemiological reports suggest that blood sugar rather than blood cholesterol or high blood pressure was more accurate predictor of atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. 2 days after the New York Herald Tribune published a full-page story linking sugar to various health issues in July 1965, SRF approved a Project 226, a literature review on cholesterol metabolism led by Hegstead and, among others, Frederick Stair, another Harvard nutritionist with financial ties to the industry. Trust the science. 9 months later, as Schmidt and her colleagues state, Hegstad explained that the project had been delayed due to the constant need to write the counter arguments against new evidence linking sugar and heart disease published during that period. Yeah, you get with the program if you want to keep getting research funding. By September of 1966, according to the report, Hickson requested additional drafts of literature review from the Harvard researchers, though there's no direct evidence the foundation commenting on or editing the drafts. By November 2nd, Hickson had approved the latest draft as exactly what we had in mind. This is how science works at the speed of the economy. Two-part review concluding that the only necessary change to prevent heart disease is to reduce dietary fat intake. Was published in the NEJM the following year with no mention of the SRF's involvement. And nobody double-checked either. Nobody actually peer-reviewed shit. But my peer-reviewed science! You allowed blatant lies to get published and nobody bothered to check them. Where's the peer review? Now, Joan did not require a disclosure of conflict of interest until 1984. The Sugar Association paid highly esteemed Harvard scientists to publish a review that focused on saturated fat and cholesterol as primary cause of heart disease at a time when studies were starting to accumulate, indicating that sugar as a risk factor for heart disease. They must have all been lying, I guess, right? This had an impact on the entire research community and the direction it took. For example, during this period, much of the messaging on how to prevent heart disease revolved around choosing margarine over butter, which has lower saturated fat content. We now know that margarine is high in trans fats, which contribute to heart disease and have been mostly eliminated from the U.S. food supply. Hey, avoid heart disease by eating this shit that'll bring it about faster. God damn, man. It seems everything the Transformers get into is bad, huh? And when manufacturers reduced fat, they added sugar, she said. We lost a significant amount of time in evaluating how sugar affects coronary heart disease, but it's impossible to measure the actual impact on public health over the last 5 decades. Both large amounts of sugar and saturated fats are detrimental to health. But yeah, everything in moderation. And their effects are difficult to separate, according to Nestle. However, it seems reasonable. It seems reasonable to limit sugar intake to around 10% of daily calories. Even today, industry funding continues to support a significant amount of scientific research, but the journals and scientists are increasingly disclosing their funding sources. Increasingly, but not all the time. Yeah, I can't believe it's not butter. Remember those commercials? Yeah, while we acknowledge that the Sugar Research Foundation should have been more transparent in all of its research activities, it's important to note that funding disclosures and transparency standards were not the norm at these times. Moreover, it's challenging for us to comment on events allegedly occurring 60 years ago on documents we have never seen. The Sugar Association always seeks to further understand the role of sugar in health, where we rely on quality science and factual evidence to support our claims. The statement concluded. Well, we'll see what happens then, huh? We'll see if that's true. Now that you're under the microscope, now that you're going to be fact-checked, we'll see how long this holds up. I think every single platform needs something like Twitter's community notes features. That is so hilarious. Every time a politician tries to lie, they get fact-checked now. That should happen during debates, too.